After 2 weeks, I thought to myself, do you know what, stop being stupid and just do it. Today we are talking about therapy, and this is a topic that I have wanted to talk about for a long time, but I didn't just simply want to talk about it without having any insights. And so I have been doing therapy for around 3 months, and I've had exactly 9 sessions. So I feel like I have some insights. I'm not an expert, and I don't know everything, but I think we all talk about mental health and how important it is to us. But I find that a lot of us don't do anything about our own mental health. And I was one of those people. And so I just want to tell you my story of how I got into therapy, how I actually made my first steps towards therapy. And hopefully I can help some of you guys out there decide whether therapy is for you. And surely therapy is for everyone. Maybe I'll make this process easier for you to take those first steps. So let's get a little sip of the tea and let's spill the beans, shall we? Okay, so let me first talk to you about why I wanted to start therapy. And the reason for this was some of my childhood experiences that I wanted to learn to better deal with and make peace with. Also, my anger issues. So I've had issues with the way I react to certain situations and the way I react to arguments. And so I find that it's really difficult for me. I'm learning it now, but it's been really difficult for me to react to certain situations and arguments in an angry way. There's always this, when there's a situation where there's a potential for me to become angry, I will become angry. Let's say someone has done something that I didn't want them to do, or they say something that just annoys me. I will react in an angry way because the way I think about it is that I'm showing respect to myself by reacting in that way, and at the same time I'm showing other people that I have respect for myself. But at the same time, it can be quite disrespectful to other people, and I think reacting in an angry way is not the best way to go about things, and I think we all know that. But when this sort of situation happens, it feels like I don't have control over it. Like the anger just wants to take over. And so I want to be able to better control my emotions and how I react to, unexpected situations or situations that I disagree with. And so that's another thing. And the thing is, with this anger issue that I have, it affects the people closest to me, and that happens to be my boyfriend. And I don't want this to affect him in that way, because I know that after, let's say we have an argument and I reacted in an angry way to the argument, I know that I feel angry at myself for reacting like that. And afterwards, I tell myself I won't be angry again. I'll try to talk to him in a calm manner. But then the next time it happens again. And so like I said, it's felt like I've had no control over it. And so I want to take control over that. But at the same time, I also want to make sure that we better our relationship. And to do that, I need to become better at, dealing with arguments and disagreements. Enough about that. Let's move on to how I actually made my first step towards therapy. And so this whole thing started in December, just before this new year began. And I thought to myself, do you know what, this year, because, the past 2 years it's been COVID and I'd had enough. And I told myself, okay, this year I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to do things out of my comfort zone, and I'm going to do things to better myself personally and better my relationship with my boyfriend. And so in December, I found this therapist online. I decided to email her, and she replied and she said, yes, I'd be happy to help you out, and we can start after Christmas. And I was like, yes, great. This is a great start to the new year, all positive. After Christmas, when we came home, unfortunately, I had some hesitations. See, from what we've been talking about in my therapy sessions, is that we found out that I want to be, and I am, an independent person. I don't want to depend on anyone, and that's to do mainly with the way I grew up. I had to kind of grow up really fast when I was a kid, and so I always think that what I think and the way I want to do things is the best way, because in the past I've been disappointed by some people, and I feel like independence is my, I need to be independent and strong, and I cannot let anyone stand in the way of that. And so when it came to actually doing the therapy, before we managed to arrange our first session, so she had emailed me at the beginning of January, and then I kind of waited 2 weeks to reply and arrange a date. And that's because I was hesitating. I was thinking to myself, do you know what? I can just sort this out myself. And like I said at the beginning of this video, we all say that mental health is really important to us, but when it comes down to it, we don't really want to do anything about it. At least I think, I was doing that, and I think there are quite a few people who are probably in a similar situation right now. And so when it came to it, I didn't really want to make that first step, because I thought, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to be spending unnecessary money on something that I don't really need. Although I can afford it, I think that I can deal with these things on my own. I am independent enough, I'm strong enough to make peace with everything. Case closed. And just one more thing on the hesitation part. When we had our first session with my therapist, she pointed out to me that she had noticed that I hesitated for 2 weeks to arrange our first appointment. And she questioned me. She said, did you hesitate? Did you think that maybe you don't want to do it anymore? And I found that really interesting that she picked up on that, because it's as if she read my mind, that I was hesitating. And it made me feel really comfortable around my therapist, because, she didn't judge me. She said, okay, you hesitated. Why did you hesitate? And she wanted to listen to what I had to say, and she wanted to help me understand why I hesitated, and that it's okay to hesitate, that a lot of people have this. And I found that really amazing. And, therapy, she said to me, oftentimes starts way before the therapist even meets their client, which is absolutely amazing. So yeah, if you're looking for a therapist, and let's say you're hesitating, they will pick up on that, but don't be afraid of that, because it's something that is maybe part of your character, like it's part of my character and my personality, that sort of independence factor. And so this will happen to be something that you need to perhaps work on as well, just like I do. After 2 weeks, I thought to myself, do you know what? Stop being stupid and just do it. Just go for it. Just have your first session. You don't have to do it forever. As long as you have your first session and see how it goes, who knows? Maybe you'll enjoy it and you'll discover something new about yourself. So I did. I gave it a go. And from day one, I loved it. But let me tell you, when they say that therapy is not a linear process, they mean it, because it really is not. So now let's move on to some of the positives that I've experienced when it comes to therapy. And I think I have been really lucky, because my first therapist was the therapist that I just wanted to stay with. I've really enjoyed our sessions, and I can see us working long term. Our sessions are very productive, and she has this way of talking to me which is really calming and just encouraging for me to open up. A lot of people struggle with that. They might have one session or a couple of sessions with one therapist, and then they maybe feel like, oh, this person is not for me. But what I did to actually give myself a better chance of succeeding with my first therapist was I actually went online. My goodness, what is it called? This is a British website, and it's called the Counselling Directory. So I went on the Counselling Directory website, And I looked for a therapist that I thought I would be most comfortable around, most comfortable, opening up and being vulnerable with. And so that for me was a female, sort of around my age, 20s, 30s. And so that seemed to work for me. So if you're looking to start therapy, I would advise you to look for someone who maybe you feel like is going to be able to relate to you, and is going to, someone who you think you're going to feel comfortable around. Because if you don't feel comfortable, let's say, talking to men, then don't have a therapist who's a man, because that's going to be a lot harder for you to open up. Another really positive thing that I've taken out of therapy is that I have become more vulnerable. I am able to be a lot more open and vulnerable with people, not just with my therapist, but with people, with my friends, with my family, because I'm this type of person, and I think I've got this from my childhood, this sort of thing, not to talk about how I feel and not to talk about what's going on in my head. And also, I think a lot of it is to do with me, because I don't want to put that burden on other people. I don't want to bother people with my problems. But I've realized that, in the past, I think I've missed out on a lot of amazing connections that I could have built with people because of my inability to connect, to be more relatable to people and to open up. Because I think what people are looking for when they start a conversation with someone is someone whom they can relate to, someone who is vulnerable, someone who is willing to open up. And I wasn't those things. Whenever there was, someone talking to me, let's say about their problems, I was always giving people a shoulder to cry on, and I would try to give them, the best advice I ever could. But at the same time, I wanted to distance my situation and what was happening to me from their situation, from them, because I felt like it wasn't appropriate for me to talk about my things and my problems. But I think what people are looking for is, when they meet someone, they do want, it's not a burden to everyone. I think people actually enjoy listening to people's vulnerabilities, to people's problems. It's not that you have to be constantly negative. It's not about that. It's about opening up and talking about your experiences, and you don't have to be negative about it. We can talk about things that you've been through, really difficult things, in a way that makes people, want to be your friend, makes people see that you're a strong person and you've dealt with this, and wow, she has really been through some stuff, but she's come out the other end. And I think that's how people want to make connections. People want to be friends with those people. And it's just, I know from my own experience that when there's someone who is vulnerable with me, I feel like, wow, okay, this person has really opened up to me. And I think I want to reciprocate that. I want to do the same thing to other people, because I think it's nice. I really do think it's nice. And it's crazy, because when me and my boyfriend first met, for the first year or two of our relationship, I did not open up at all. It felt, and yet in my head, I kind of complained or had an issue with the fact that we weren't talking about deep topics. But I do remember that my boyfriend was trying to talk to me about things from my past. I just wasn't willing to open up, because I don't know, I think I was afraid of judgment. Those things were going through my head. And so it's crazy, because in the past month or so, or past 2-3 months that I've been doing therapy, I have opened up so much to him. And even if I have, let's say I'm second guessing myself if I should talk about this thing to him, I'm still going to do it, because I'm just talk to him about it. If he doesn't want to talk about it, he'll say. But, he's never said, oh, I don't want to talk about it, shut up. He's a really respectful guy. And so I have realized that, there's not always time to talk about your problems and issues, but oftentimes people do want to hear about those things, especially people close to you, like your boyfriend and let's say your family as well. They want to hear truly what's happening with you, whether you're okay, what problems you're having. And I found that really healing and helpful to realize that I don't have to just act positive on the outside and shut everything else off, all my emotions and everything else. I can talk to people like I'm talking to you right now, talk about my experiences, say what I've been through, say what irritates me, what makes me sad and upset. And at the same time, be happy that there's someone who is willing to listen. And that is what therapy is all about. Therapy is about this other person listening to you, and they simply try to help you understand things from different perspectives, so that maybe there's different approaches to figuring things out. So another really beneficial thing of therapy that I've gotten from therapy is having that someone once a week to talk to, or however often you want to talk to them, is having that person to talk to them once a week. Because like I said, even though people are willing to listen, it's good to have this objective person who is not in your environment, who will not judge you. Even though, like my boyfriend and let's say my family, they don't judge me, it feels great to just be able to rant about something to someone, and they will just sit there and talk to you about, well, maybe it's because of this, because of that, and challenge you and ask you questions. So that's a really positive thing. Having said all of the positives, about 2-3 weeks ago, I think, I realized that I was having a big problem with therapy. And I don't know why it was. There was a lot of things going on in my life. I was having to deal with a lot of things. And I remember I hadn't seen my therapist for around 2 weeks. And I remember just wanting to message my therapist, listen, I think I'm going to quit because I don't feel like this is for me. I don't think I've made any improvement. I think I should just move on. And and sometimes therapy has made me feel like I'm just dwelling on things and not making any progress. But I'm glad that I messaged my therapist instead of just quitting and blanking her, because I feel like if I was at a different stage, I would have done that. Instead, I told her, listen, I'm having these issues. Can we please arrange a meeting? Can we, have a session together tomorrow? And she said, yeah, that's great. We can talk about it tomorrow. And so I remember at the time I was also becoming more distant from my therapist. I told her I wanted to have one session fortnightly for some reason, because I felt like it just wasn't going well, and also I felt like my whole week was consumed by therapy, because I was just, I was starting off, and it's normal to feel like that. And so this whole thing felt really overwhelming. I felt like at the end of our session I would probably quit and tell her that I'm not going to do it anymore. But we actually spoke about it, and after the session I realized that there were so many issues that I didn't even know of that I really need to work on. And some of those issues are to do with me being really results driven and expecting a lot from people and from things. So I thought that because I wasn't seeing results, I should quit, because this is not bringing me results, therefore it's not productive. I'm washing my hands off of this. I don't need to be doing this. It's not necessary. And my therapist, she asked me, why do you feel like you're not making any progress? And I said, well, I feel like, we've talked about so many things, and I've had so many issues happen in my personal life, and a lot of the things that I'm going through right now are out of my control. And I just feel like I need to deal with things on my own. And she said, well, oftentimes therapy will feel like it's not bringing you any immediate results because it simply takes time. And at that point, I'd only had 7 sessions, and she said to me, you've only just started. There are people who have been doing therapy for years and they're still struggling. So it made me think, I'd realized that, because I've never thought this of myself before. I always thought that I was quite, patient and understanding. But when she said that to me, I'd realized that, my goodness, I am not patient at all. I am not understanding. And even though in the back of my head, I knew that, therapy is long term, I don't know. It was a reaction to something that I felt. It didn't feel right, therefore I should quit. And it's just so crazy that therapy can make you feel so many different emotions, so many different feelings. So sometimes, on one occasion, you will leave feeling amazing, like you've achieved so much and you feel like a new person. And after some other sessions, you'll leave feeling disappointed, and you're going to be crying and you're going to be upset. And I've experienced a lot of those. And throughout my journey with therapy for the past, 3 months that I've had, I've experienced a lot of those differing emotions, a lot of those kind of opposing emotions that, when you feel happy, it's great. But when you leave upset, you're like, oh, I don't know if I enjoy doing this, and it's once a week, and I don't know if I can deal with all the emotions. And also the problem with a lot of the problems that, people can be facing. For me, for example, I have this one problem that is to do with somebody else. And it's really difficult for me to make peace with that situation, because that specific person, they don't want to help me out, they don't want to help me feel better mentally. And it's difficult to make peace with that and to be okay with that. And it's difficult to see results when you're having to deal with something like that, because it is so dependent on someone else. But sometimes results will come in different ways. Results may present themselves in different forms. You don't have to, become friends with someone who you previously argued with. It's not about that. It's about how you feel on the inside. It's about feelings of, content and just general happiness inside of yourself, without having to go to extra lengths to make peace with people. But if that's what you can do, then that's great. And so to close this off, I realized this was my last session that I had, and I realized that it's okay. It's okay to experience these ebbs and flows, and those things are going to happen whether you like it or not. You just have to deal with it. And actually, I've been learning a lot about life in the past couple of weeks as well, because I'm always this sort of person that just wants to go, and I don't live in the moment. And so it has really helped me. We've worked on this in therapy in recent sessions, and we said, I am just so impatient and I need to be able to slow down. And so having someone say this to me, that I need to slow down, has actually made it real for me, that I have this thing that I just want to keep on going and keep on distracting myself from everything else that's going on around me, because I simply don't want to have to stop and deal with all of this stuff that's happening. But I've realized that if I don't deal with this right now, I'm going to struggle a lot more in the future, and I don't want that. I want to work on things as they happen, instead of accumulating and then the whole thing just exploding and becoming a massive, chaotic Armageddon. Some advice from me: if you're experiencing this in your therapy right now, if you're feeling like, actually, I don't think this is for me, talk to your therapist about it. Because I was going to just shut off and not talk about it. And if I had done that, it would have ruined it for me, potentially. I wouldn't have benefited from this experience. It's important to talk to your therapist about everything that bothers you. And it's just so mind-opening when you talk about those things that you don't really feel like you should talk about to your therapist. But they're there for you to talk to them about those difficult things, those things that you feel like, gosh, I really don't want to. But when you do, things start clicking into place, they start falling into place, and things make sense. And you learn so much more about yourself, and you grow a lot more. So that's my advice. And like I've said before, I think I've said this before, therapy is for everyone. Even if you don't have, I don't know, childhood trauma, whatever, you might be having problems that you don't even know are affecting you on a day-to-day basis. Or maybe there's just things that you want to work on, you just want to become a better person. Because for me, I want to become a better person, you know, I want to be better for my family, friends, boyfriend. And yeah, it's just really beneficial to have someone to talk to, and don't give up. When you see signs of wanting to give up, do not continue and talk to your therapist about it. It's really important. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If I've missed anything out, I'll discuss it in another video. But for now, that is it. I'm sure I'll update you on, you know, my future with therapy, how it's going. But I thought it would be really beneficial for people to hear this and to make that first step and not to give up. So don't give up, stay strong, and like this video, please, if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you are new. So see you in the next one.